few minutes if I look at some of the strangest subplots of the Alaska summit. And the recycled fantasy of taking back Alaska, for example, and the claim that Putin on the red carpet was not Putin at all. Now, the Alaska gamut, all of this was theatre masquerading as policy. Around the summit, Russian nationalist outlets and a handful of politicians revived the old trope that Alaska somehow remains Russian in spirit and must be returned or reunited. This is not new. In July 2022, the Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin warned that Russia could claim back Alaska if the US seized Russian assets, and billboards proclaimed Alaska is ours, and these appeared in Siberia. So I think the choice of Alaska for the summit was very interesting and slightly odd and provocative. The line reappeared as Putin flew to the former outpost of the Tsarist Empire, and even Kremlin-adjacent media helped it along. Tsargrad TV pushed a mock People's Republic of Alaska flag on Telegram in the run-up to the meeting. Kirill Dmitriev, a senior negotiator and the head of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, amplified the symbolism by calling Alaska Russian America, or an America of Russian origin, and these narratives were catalogued by Ukrainian and European monitors during the summit period, during the run-up to the summit and the few days that have taken place, yesterday and today. And Sergei Mironov, a perennial attention seeker in the Duma, floated the notion of revisiting the 1867 sale by offsetting against frozen Russian assets, a stunt that plays well on Russian TV but has no legal hook. United 24 and Kyiv Post tracked his statements again this year, including his even more inflammatory call that the US should arrest Zelensky if he refused any Trump-Putin agreements. It's a noise designed to look like leverage. And this is information warfare with three audiences: the domestic audience to bathe the leader in imperial nostalgia at low cost, the international audience to needle US politics and monopolize the news cycle with an unserious but clickable provocation, and the negotiating table to signal that Russia always bargains with maximalist myths in its back pocket. Alaska's status is not really in question. The 1867 purchase is a concluded, internationally recognized transfer of sovereignty, and the US military footprint and law would make any return claim a direct challenge to US territory, something even this Kremlin doesn't misjudge in practice. The flurry around Anchorage should be read as optics, not intention. And contemporary coverage in Time and Reuters treated the summit as spectacle heavy and outcome light, precisely the environment where such theatrics thrive. When you lack concessions to show, you inflate symbols. Alaska is a cheap, endlessly recalculable symbol. And then there's the much more interesting claim, the doppelganger hypothesis, the idea of Putin versus the man Putin, and of course the Smeg fridge lurking in the background. The claim by people like Jake Broe argues that Putin who landed in Alaska, this particular Putin, looked different, off, with fuller cheeks, uncharacteristic levity, and a gait that didn't match his familiar gunslinger, right arm, still walk, hence a body double. The idea has grown viral, and it's after Dagestan and Mariupol appearances, those also, and his appearance in China, all of these lend credibility to the theory that the Putin we see on television is not the real thing. It resonates because of Putin's well-known gait, his signature walk. In 2015, a paper in the BMJ described the gunslinger's gait among Russian security elites and suggested it likely arises from weapons training. And it's become the layperson's tell. And Russian TV segments have occasionally placed Putin in two locations in ways that have reignited speculation. And Japanese researchers have even claimed facial recognition support. Sensational, yes, but not conclusive. The real Putin cultivates distance, meters-long tables, rigid protocols, and, as even Fox reporters noted at Anchorage, very limited exposure to unscripted media. A sudden chatty, tactile, and close-quarters Putin reads as off-brand. The Kremlin has repeatedly and specifically denied using doubles. Peskov has called the stories information hoaxes, and Putin himself joked about it on Direct Line, saying only one person should look and sound like himself. Major fact checks have also debunked popular chin and earlobe photo comparisons from Mariupol as miscaptioned or non-probative. From public footage alone, you cannot verify a double. Forensic-grade conclusions would require high-resolution multi-angle imaging, voice prints, gait time series, and known baseline biometrics. None of that is public. What you can evaluate is behavioural congruence. And two cues from Anchorage fuel the theory without proving it. Sky News' Peter Collett noted Trump's dominance displays at the handshake, then a later optic shift where Putin appeared more settled while Trump tightened up at the microphones. Those reads say something about mood and leverage, not identity, but they add to the sense that the visual narrative was odd. Reports described a shorter-than-billed meeting and a perfunctory presser, which complicate any clean read of the principles. Again, that is summit choreography, not biometric evidence. But the political meaning, if it were true that Putin was not really there, if, hypothetically, a double stood in, it would say three things. First, that there is risk aversion at the top. The real principal will not cross the American frontier even for a win. Second, that real decisions sit with the Circle and the presidency, especially Lavrov and the Security Council. And third, the idea of the myth over the man. What matters is the idea of Putin that travels, the brand of firmness and grievance, not the biological individual. That is why the theory grips people. It dramatizes a truth about late-stage personalist regimes. They trade in the projection of the persona that can be staffed out. The double story is unproven. Its power lies in metaphor. The Kremlin's narrative needs Putin as a symbol that can be everywhere. Whether a stand-in shook hands in Alaska, the summit showed the symbol still functions. Even if Putin is dead and frozen somewhere, whether in a Smeg fridge or elsewhere, it doesn't matter. The image, the myth of Putin is more important than the reality. And so how do the two oddities fit together? The Alaska chatter and the double theory both thrive in optics-first politics. One flatters the faithful at home, Alaska is nostalgia. The other unsettles audiences abroad. Is your counterpart even present? Both crowd out the emptiness of the communique. More Alaska messages from state TV and Telegram are worth watching, perhaps spotting how it's paired with any talk of frozen assets or Arctic projects, and any Kremlin footage that reverts to long table distancing or avoids tight, unscripted interactions that would speak of this sort of hyper-control. These are worth checking out. And I think Jake Broe is right to flag this up. The bottom line for Alaska is that this is all that is performance. It has a pedigree in Volodin's 2022 threats and is being revived by figures like Mironov precisely because the summit produced no real concessions, treated as a mood board, not a map. The idea of the doppelganger, the not the real Putin story, is plausible in principle, irresistible in meme space, and still unsupported by verifiable proof, even if you take into account the SVG Telegram story about the death of Putin in October 2023. You need to pause on the skepticism a little bit and keep a sense of symbolism. The Alaska summit confirmed that whatever else is true, the brand that we call Putin is portable, and that is the point. And whether Putin is alive or dead, Putinism is potent, and it stinks to high heaven.